Well, good evening, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Sheikh Mubarak al-Sabah, Ambassador Badir, and friends and colleagues, and Francis Guy, who's also on the stage there with us. I'm Zainab Badawi. I'm president of SOAS, and it's my great pleasure to host this evening the 27th book prize of the British Kuwait Friendship Society. So almost getting to the 3-decade mark. Wow, that's going to be a big party. We hope we'll be hosting it here too. So, we really, when this was being discussed, we were delighted that we could be the hosts for the book prize this year, and we hope it will not be the last time that we do this. And so we hope to see you and many more at our next prize. And it's a remarkable prize, as you will hear. I've just looked at some of the shortlist, and it covers quite a range of topics. And of course, as you know, it celebrates the best scholarship in Middle Eastern studies. And so it's very appropriate that it's taking place here at SOAS, because we are a bastion of learning and knowledge and research and education about the Middle East, Asia and Africa, of course. For more than 100 years, we've been looking at the cultures, the economies, the languages, the societies of these regions. And we have a really flourishing department in the Middle East. We've just appointed a new director for our Middle East Institute, Professor Adam Hania, who takes over in February. So we're looking forward to his arrival. And we have many alumni from Kuwait, so that's also something that we are remarkably happy about, that wherever we go, we run into SOAS alumni, and we call them SOASians. And it's always a great pleasure for me as president of SOAS to preside over the graduation ceremonies, to see all those bright young faces, emerging as SOASians. And, we keep them in our hearts, and they keep us in our hearts wherever they go. And they go on to do many, many great things. Because that's the thing about SOAS. We don't just educate people in subjects academically. We also try to imbibe them with the right values so that they can go and forge a future for themselves in a way that helps them create a life of meaning and purpose. And we can do that because, if you look at the rankings, it's a real testament to the fine teaching that goes here. If you look at the research excellence framework, the REF, we are consistently, half of our subjects here are consistently in the top 10 in the UK, and we rank first for research environment and also for research excellence. We're actually first in these areas. So there's a great deal for us to be very proud about. It's a difficult time for the sector, but we really are punching above our weight, because although we're small, our influence really does extend very, very far. So it's my pleasure for me now to invite Ambassador Badir, who's the ambassador of Kuwait here in the UK, to say a few words. It probably is easier if you come here, and I hope you'll give him a round applause.
Thank you, Zainab. Well, first I have to give you a special thank, Zainab. You are the first I contacted, and you immediately welcomed the idea, and you gave us a full support. So thank you for Zainab, thank you for SOAS. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening to celebrate knowledge, culture, and enduring dialogue between people and ideas that the prestigious Sheikh Abdullah Mubarak al-Sabah Book Prize represents. Since the establishment in 1998, this initiative has become one of the most respected recognitions in the field of the Middle Eastern studies. Through its steadfast belief in the power of knowledge, the Sheikh Abdullah Mubarak al-Sabah Foundation has nurtured scholarship, inspired generations of students, and promoted the study of Middle East in British universities through various scholarship programs. We extend our deepest gratitude to Sheikh Abdullah Mubarak. With Sheikh Abdullah, without your dedication, continued commitment, and generous support, this book prize would not have achieved its distinguished status as a bridge between culture and celebration of intellectual excellence. We also owe a special debt of gratitude to our organizing committee and, above all, to our distinguished judges. Our judges here, and Francis is also among the judges here. From what I heard this evening, our judges have read a lot of books, a lot of books in a short period of time. Your careful reading, thoughtful deliberation, and discerning selection of this year's winning works are at the heart of the book's prize success. Your dedication ensures that the award maintains its integrity, prestige, meaningful contribution to scholarship. So, for that, it deserves our deepest recognition and respect. Distinguished guests, the Booker Prize stands as a symbol of Kuwait's enduring commitment to culture and arts and literature. These values deeply cherished under the guidance of Our Highness the Emir. Kuwait remains devoted to promoting education, creativity, and culture. Dialogue, both at home and abroad, as means of fostering peace and mutual respect among nations. This cultural partnership, built on decades of cooperation and trust, reflects the broader spirit of Kuwait-British relationship, which values learning, dialogue, and the exchange of ideas as essential to strengthening understanding among nations. In conclusion, congratulations to the winners of this distinguished prize. Your hard work has truly paid off, and we hope you will continue to write and contribute to this shared culture heritage. May this evening remind us all of the timeless power of culture and learning, and may the Book Prize, Sheikh Abdullah Mubarak Prize, continue to shine as a beacon of excellence, curiosity, and collaboration for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed, Ambassador Badr. And indeed, as you said, of course, this prize is made possible through the support of the foundation of Sheikh Abdullah Al-Mubarak Al-Sabah. And I have had the privilege of knowing Sheikh Mubarak Al-Sabah and his, not only on his male side of his relatives, but also his mother, a very, very distinguished Dr. Her Highness Sheikh Dr. Suad Al-Sabah, who is really a remarkable woman and a real pioneer and a beacon of light for women, not only in the Arab world, but also in Africa and the entire developing world, a towering intellectual who really has left a great imprint and has inspired many women, including myself, to try to aspire to be half as good as she is. So I'd like to invite you now, Sheikh Mubarak, to come and say a few words of welcome. Thank you.
So, Mrs. Badawi, thank you very much for that introduction and very kind words. Your Excellency, in the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Good evening, Your Excellencies, Ambassador Al-Munayakh, Ambassador of the State of Kuwait to the Court of St. James's, Ambassador Francis Guy, Chair of the Judges of the British Kuwait Friendship Society Book Prize, Mrs. Zainab Badawi, President of SOAS, dear professors, distinguished guests, dear friends. It gives me great pleasure to join you tonight at the SOAS Gallery, a place where books, ideas, and strong coffee seem to have formed a long alliance. While I look around this room, I find it reassuring to be surrounded by people who still believe that the best form of social media is a book. Allow me first to thank our hosts at SOAS, in particular, President Mrs. Zainab Badawi, Vice Chancellor Professor Adam Habib, and Deputy Vice Chancellor Professor Laura Hammond for their leadership and their gracious hospitality this evening. SOAS has long been a bridge between cultures, a place where the studies of the Middle East, Africa, and Asia meet, creating an enduring curiosity about the world. I wish also to thank our distinguished judges, Ambassador Francis Guy, Ambassador Ali Ansari, Professor Nicola Sinai, last but not least, Professor Yasser Suleiman, who has also been the chair of the panel of judges, for all their support and generosity over the years, and in joining us in person this evening, and for their thoughtful deliberations. A special word of thanks goes to Louise Hasey, who tirelessly worked calm precision to make this event a success. We are honored by the presence of His Excellency, Mr. Badr al-Munayikh, the Ambassador of the State of Kuwait, whose efforts continue to strengthen the close friendship between the two countries, a friendship rooted in shared respect, dialogue, and education. This prize was founded to celebrate not only books, but the bridges they built between ideas, between historians, histories, and between peoples. In my family, we have long believed that learning is not merely an accomplishment, but a duty that connects generations. My mother, Dr. Suad al-Sabah, has carried forward this vision through her poetry, her research, and her lifelong belief in the power of culture to bring people together. And I think that's why tonight is really about. We live in a noisy world full of headlines and short tempers. But books remind us to slow down, to listen, to think, and to feel. They remind us that wisdom takes time. Through this prize, we honor writers who continue this mission and shed light on the complexities of our world and remind us that to understand others is the highest form of wisdom. To all our writers, scholars, and readers here tonight, and those not here, thank you for keeping enlightenment alive and proving that the written word still has the power to unite us. Congratulations to all the authors shortlisted this year, and to the winners, and work that stand a testament to the enduring value of thoughtful writing. Thank you all for being part of this special evening. Thank you. Sorry,
Thank you so much indeed, Sheikh Mubarak. And you're absolutely right, in this fast world of, social media and people flicking things, it's so nice to just read a book. I like a book that I can hold in my hands, not looking at a screen and just savouring, the words on a page. It really is something that I highly recommend. So let me invite to the stage Francis Guy, who's a distinguished former British diplomat who has served in the Middle East in many hot spots in the world, like Yemen, and has also had a spell in Khartoum, in happier days in Khartoum, of course. And Francis is chair of the panel of judges for the British Kuwait, which way around is it again? Kuwait British Friendship Society book prize. So please do come to the stage, Francis, and tell us a bit more about this year's prize. We're all agog.
Yes, thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you to the School of Oriental and African Studies for hosting us this evening. And thank you, Ambassador, for your warm welcome and for inviting us here on behalf of the British Kuwait Friendship Society. But I did also do it right at the other way round, by the way, and I ought to know better. So I think it just shows that friendships goes in two directions all the time, right? So that's fine. I'd also like to thank Sheikh Mubarak Al-Abdullah Al-Mubarak Sabah for his generosity and for his continued personal support for this prize and for also bringing us here today at SOAS. I'm speaking on behalf of the judges, and Sheikh Mubarak mentioned them, but I'm going to mention them again because I'd like to thank my fellow judges for taking the time, that slow time, to read all of these books. We have Professor Ali Ansari from St Andrews University, Professor Nicola Sinai from Oxford, Professor Yasser Suleiman, Professor Emeritus at Cambridge University, with us this evening. And we have Liz Kendall, who is mistress of Girton College, Cambridge, who unfortunately is unable to join us, but has been a very active member of the panel too. I'd like to thank the judges and the independent reviewers, so we have some independent reviewers as well, for the time they take to read and thoughtfully consider all the entries. This year we were, again, very lucky to have a very wide range of high-quality entries on a very wide range of subjects, from history, sociology, religion, architecture, and from covering a wide geographical area from Tunisia to Iran. I say those because we had two particular blocks of a lot of works on Tunisia and a lot on Iran this year, for reasons we can discuss if you wish. But before I say something about this year's shortlist and introduce the winning titles, I'd just like to remind you of the criteria that we use to judge the prize. As others have said, it's a celebration of scholarly work on the Middle East in the broadest sense. So, as I mentioned, covering language, literature, history, sociology, anthropology, art. But the criteria that are used by the judges are originality, clarity and accessibility, and importance to the field. So this year we chose 5 books for our shortlist, a shortlist which reflects that variety that were presented. And I would like to start by mentioning the 2 that didn't get a prize but are worthy of mention. The first honourable mention goes to the book The Damascus Events, the 1860 Massacre and the Destruction of the Old Ottoman World by Eugene Rogan, which is published by Alan Lane. Our reviewer noted that the great merit of the Damascus Events is to reintroduce readers to a defining moment in the history of the modern Middle East. Eugene Rogan is able to tell this story in a riveting prose that is accessible to a wide audience without sacrificing any of the nuances of these historical events. Our second honourable mention goes to Making and Remaking Empire in Early Qajar, Iran by Asif Ashraf, published by Cambridge University Press. Our reviewer noted that this book is a milestone in the study of the early Qajar period. Ashraf's study transcends the stale binary of ruler and ruled and revisits the much maligned Qajars with a fresh, unbiased perspective. I have no doubt that this is a groundbreaking book which will reshape how historians research and teach 19th century Iran for many years to come. But it is my pleasure also to move to the prize winners tonight. So we have 2 runners-up and 1 winner, all of whom are going to say a few words, and all of whom I'm delighted are here with us today. So we have, of the 2 runners-up, I would like to start with we were very pleased to award runner-up prize to a book, Companionship and Virtue in Classical Sufism, The Contribution of Al-Sulami by Jason Velle, published by IB Taurus. The judges agreed that this is a clearly presented piece of original scholarship which moves the reader between the 11th century in Khorasan to modern philosophy and back again. The book draws on others' scholarships, but also returns to primary sources and demonstrates clearly evidence that medieval treatises on the good life have things to tell us at all levels, both basic and very rarefied. I'm very pleased that Jason Velle, who is assistant professor in comparative theology from Boston College, has been able to join us today and is somewhere. We'll say a few words. He's there, sorry. We'll come and say a few words perhaps about his book. Thank you. So just to be clear, we will have the winners all saying a few words, and then Sheikh Mubarak will present them with something at the end. Thank you.
Wonderful. And thank you very much, Francis, and thank you to Sheikh Abdullah, to Ambassador Badr, to you, Dr. Badawi, for the grand welcome. I thank the others who have done so much quiet support for this book. Louise for the prize ceremony tonight, Rory Gormley from IB Taurus, my fiance Victoria, and so many others. Fundamentally, I tried to write a book that was concerned about how people become better people. And specifically, how we become better people through our interaction with our friends and our companions, how those around us shape our virtue and our pursuit of the good life. And I feel like Sulami, among other classical Sufi masters, has a good account about this. Not just the companionship of the master and the disciple, my learning at the feet of my sheikh, but also how my more ordinary friends, sisters and brothers on the path, help me or hinder me in the pursuit of a life pleasing to God. One quote I came back to again in the book, a person follows the religion of his friend, so let him think carefully about whom he chooses as a friend. And I think this is still good counsel for all of us. I won't say more about that than that about the book, because I'm sure Rory wants you to buy it. But I'm very, very grateful for the honor here, and I thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Actually, we have quite a few books that demonstrate that friends can be from other religions and challenge you in that too, I think. But thank you. And to demonstrate the width of this scholarship, I'm very pleased to announce that the other joint runner-up was for Toiling for Oil, A Social History of Petroleum in Iran by Touraj Atabaki, published by Cambridge University Press. And the judges really appreciated the originality of this book and the amount of research that had gone into throwing light on the vital role of the workers in the oil industry in Iran throughout the 21st century. Our reviewer noted that this book is undoubtedly a labour of love. Its author has worked for many years on the working class and labour movements in the Iranian oil industry, in many ways pioneering this field of study. The work is a timely reminder of the importance of both expatriate workers and trade unionism during this period, and throws light on the status of industrial workers in Iran in the pre-revolutionary period. We're very honoured that Professor Touraj has also been able to join us this evening. He is Professor of Social History of the Middle East and Central Asia at Leiden University, and will also say a few words, please. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I prefer the text. Did my homework. Your Excellency, Maali Sayyid Badr al-Munayq, the Ambassador of the State of Kuwait, distinguished member of the Selection Committee, honorable guests, friends, ladies, and gentlemen. It's a profound honor and a deeply humbling experience to stand before you this evening, to receive the British Kuwait Friendship Society Book Prize in Middle Eastern Studies, sponsored by Abdullah Al-Mubarak Sabah Foundation, is a distinction I shall cherish always. My sincere thanks goes to Sheikh Mubarak Al-Mubarak Sabah, whose generosity makes this prize possible, and to the British Kuwait Friendship Society and its selection committee to honoring my work with this distinguished award. I would also like to extend my warm appreciation to Louise Hayes, whose coordination and dedication make this ceremony and indeed the enduring spirit of society possible. When I was a junior scholar, I discovered a monumental work, The History of the British Petroleum Company, published by Cambridge University Press in 1994. That book chronicled the rise of what had been once the Anglo-Persian and later Anglo-Iranian oil company known today as British Petroleum. It was an extraordinary account, an epic narrative of corporate ambition and global power. Yet, as I read, I wondered why the agency of workers is absent in this account. Workers whose hand built this history. The clerks, the mechanics, and their families. Those whose lives were shaped by oil, yet whose voice remained unheard. Years later, when my junior years were behind me, I remembered what I had once read and decided to write another version of the British Petroleum story, one told from below, from the other end of the social spectrum, seeking to recover the voices of those who lived and labored in its shadow. Toiling for oil, a social history of petroleum in Iran, grew out of that early decision. I tell the story of oil industry not from the boardrooms or ministries, but from the oil field and company towns, from the everyday experience of the men and women who toiled for oil. Their endurance, solidarity, and humanity give this book its moral heartbeat. I owe immense debt to my publisher, Cambridge University Press, for their insight, patience, and craftsmanship. They helped transform years of research into a finished work. This award holds a special meaning because it comes from a society devoted to friendship and mutual understanding. It reminds us that scholarship itself is a bridge connecting nations and generations. Power and people, the voices of center and those of margins. I accept this honor not only in my own name, but in the name of all those anonymous men and women who labored in the oil field of the Middle East, whose life, struggle, and dreams continue to shape our shared modern history. To His Excellency, Ma'ali Badr al-Munayikh, to Sheikh Mubarak al-Mubarak al-Sabah, and the Abdullah al-Mubarak al-Sabah Foundation, to the British Kuwait Friendship Society, to the Selection Committee, and to the Cambridge University Press, I offer my deepest thanks and warmest gratitude. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I admit that I hadn't thought about the workers from the Asian subcontinent working in the oil fields of Iran until I read Professor Touraj's book. And then maybe you've just highlighted why, that we've been used to histories talking about oil companies from boardrooms. And while now we're talking about just transitions and we are thinking perhaps a bit more about the workers, we need to remember all the workers over time who have toiled in all these oil fields. So thank you for illuminating us. It is now my great pleasure to announce our overall winner this year, which is for the book Prophet of Reason, Science, Religion and the Origins of the Modern Middle East by Peter Hill, published by One World. This is a book that has everything. For those of us whose hearts are in the Levant, which I think are many in this room, the book starts, well, for me it started with a vision of a moonlit night, which then didn't become moonlit, on a rooftop in the Shuf Mountains of Lebanon. I was transported. This accessible, sympathetic vision of daily realities helps us understand the movement of people in the 19th century between different parts of the Ottoman Empire. It was a vision of harmony and welcome and intellectual camaraderie that in some ways has been lost. Peter Hill recounts the life and times of the polymath, merchant and diplomatic go-between Mikhail Meshaka, from his birth in Mount Lebanon to his early years in that region and in Egypt, and his move to Damascus and his conversion to Protestantism. And he draws impressively throughout on a wide range of archival and printed documents from collections across Europe, North America, and the Middle East. Our reviewer commented that, all in all, this is a deeply impressive work which marries penetrating original insights and vivid, evocative prose. It is at once a significant intervention in the scholarship and an important contribution to public understanding of the Middle East. Meshaka has long been well known to scholars, principally because of the account he wrote of the confessional violence of the 1860s. But Hill succeeds in showing his wider significance, not just for scholars, but for general readers. Please join me in congratulating Peter Hill on this wonderful book, and please read it. Thank you. And please say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's extremely kind, and I'm extremely conscious of the honour yes, to be here in such distinguished company, not only here tonight, but also the past winners and shortlisted titles of this prize, many of which I know and respect and admire deeply. So yes, I'm very, very grateful. And I'm also very pleased to be here with you tonight, which is happened really by the skin of my teeth, because my wife gave birth to our first child, a son, a year ago. No, sorry, a week ago today. Any incoherencies or stumblings in my speech can be put down to the effects of early fatherhood. But yes, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really very grateful to be here and to be honoured with this prize. I must thank, of course, everybody involved in the prize itself, and particularly Sheikh Mubarak and the Foundation for their generosity. In terms of the book, there are very many people who I could thank, but I encourage you to read the acknowledgements if you're interested. But I should mention my publishers, One World, and particularly my editor, Rita Vakas, who's here tonight, who played a very important role, really, in being an advocate for the book and shaping it. And I should also really deeply thank my wife, Georgina, who's not here tonight because she's at home with our son, but for her support and love throughout the writing process and beyond. So I'll say a few words about the book, but I hope briefly, partly because Francis has kindly introduced the topic. It's really a micro-history about one man, an individual, Mikhail Meshaka, born in the year 1800 and then living through most of the 19th century until his death in 1888, between what's now Lebanon, Syria, and sometime in Egypt. And he played very many roles in his life. He was a merchant, a financier, an advisor to rulers, a medical doctor, a polymath who knew very many different domains of knowledge. But the line that I take through his life, through the book, the main connecting thread, is his changing beliefs, his opinions, and particularly his religious beliefs. So to summarize very briefly, he starts off as a teenager in Mount Lebanon, being interested in the instabilities of the world around him, the ups and downs of fortune, the rise and fall of rulers, and comes to a view through this vision from perhaps a rooftop, we don't know, but that Francis mentioned, of a solar eclipse. He comes to believe that perhaps astrology, movements of the stars, may give us a handle on the events of the world around us. A few years later, he travels to Dumyat in Egypt, and comes to a very different view. He reads Enlightenment science and other works of the European Enlightenment, translated into Arabic for the first time, and becomes a deist. He loses his religious faith, he loses his belief in astrology, and he comes to think that all of the religions available to him in the Middle East of his day are false. and that instead God commands us, he still believes in God, to walk according to the natural light of reason that he has planted within us. He then goes back to Mount Lebanon, lives as a deist for a couple of decades, lives through very turbulent events, the invasion of Ottoman Syria by the Egyptian army of Mehmed Ali of Egypt, the early start of the Druze Maronite sectarian violence in Mount Lebanon in 1841, more ups and downs of fortune. And out of this, he becomes interested in religion again. He comes into contact with American Protestant missionaries, famous influence within that part of the world, and forms a close friendship with one of them, an American famous for translating the Bible into Arabic, called Eli Smith. So again, perhaps it's nice that there's a friendship that's quite central to the book between Michal Mashaka in Damascus and this American missionary in Beirut. And as a result of this and of other influences, he comes to a different form of faith, which he regards as a rational form of faith, which is evangelical Christianity, or what we would call Protestantism. And then he lives on to become vice consul for the United States of America in Damascus, and in that role lives through, barely survives the famous Damascus massacre of 1860, the sectarian violence of that year, on which you can read Professor Eugene Rogan's book. So I'll refer you to that for that. So I would just point to 2 or possibly 3 threads that I want to sort of draw out of the book that I think may be interesting to take away from tonight. One of which is about religion. I think perhaps when we think about the Middle East, we sometimes are tempted to feel that we know what religion is. There are these boxes, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Shia, Sunni, and we think we can put people into these boxes perhaps and we know what they are. Michal Mashaka gives us a sense of the messiness that you get when you open one of these boxes and look at an individual and his own religious opinions and his changing beliefs and his debates with other people. That there is a dynamism, an element of doubt, of confusion, and of change about religious opinions. And so I hope that that's something perhaps that can be restored to accounts of religion in the region. What happens when you open the boxes? The second point is really about biography. I think maybe 15 years ago, Layla Parsons, the author of a very fine biography of Fawzi al-Qawwaqji, the Arab nationalist military hero, she commented there weren't very many scholarly biographies of Arabs or of figures in Middle Eastern history written in English. I don't think that's true anymore. I think over the last 15 years there's been something of a biographical turn in the field. And I think this is, the other books nominated for this prize recently indicate this to some extent as well. I'm pleased to be part of this. And I think that one of the things that you can get from biography, potentially, is a sense of the real people within history. If we hear mostly about trends and structures and historical phenomena, it can be easy to lose sight of the fact that there are real people. And looking at individuals within history, I think, is one way into that. And finally, I suppose I want to say something a bit more specific about Michal Mashaka and his example. As somebody who is living through very turbulent times in the Middle East of his day, but also trying to understand them. Not only the account of somebody who is a witness to historical change and upheaval, but also somebody who's trying to come to terms with it by the use of his reason. This category of reason, al-aql, is very central for him. And I mean, unfortunately, if you look around the Middle East, particularly over recent years, the last few years in Syria or Lebanon or Palestine or Sudan or Yemen, one can get a sense of the history of the region almost as a series of catastrophes, one disaster after another. And this was true to some extent of Michal Mashaka's time as well. He lived through war, the rise and fall of governments, epidemic disease, sectarian violence, and he uses a word for this. When he writes of the Damascus massacres of 1860, he calls them a musiba in Arabic, which is a calamity, catastrophe, but with the sense also of being struck by fate. And the interesting thing, though, about Michal Mashaka is in the end he rejects that view of catastrophe. Rather than seeing this as something that's fated, he wants to use his reason, al-aql, to understand why these events are happening. And he goes through a number of different phases, and we may think these specific ways he has of understanding these events are now not to be taken particularly seriously, whether it's astrology in his early days or the literal belief in the truth of biblical prophecy that he comes to as an as an evangelical Christian later on, or for that matter, the Enlightenment faith in the overwhelming power of reason that he adopts during his youth. But there is this underlying effort, I think, this thread that runs through it, which is the attempt to use reason to come to terms with instability and crisis. And also, I think there's a learning process through it, which is that he comes to see that there are limits to what reason can understand and can come to terms within that as well. So this is perhaps something that we might be able to take away from the story of Mikhail Mashaka today, which is, this is somebody who's living through radical instability, repeated catastrophe, but who's determined not just to endure, but also to understand what's going on around him. And I think perhaps that's something that we can learn from nowadays, whether it's in the Middle East or in the wider world. Thank you very much.
Don't go away. Could we have the three of you so that Sheikh Mubarak could present something and we take a picture maybe or something? Thank you.
Let me take first of all, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I got the right one. That was a good.
You put the book on there.
We have one together, or
Yes. As the photographer should decree.
I don't know. I'm not the photographer. We come here. I think I send the cover. Where do you think we should have one? Thanks. Sorry.
Sorry.
Maybe that way.
That way? Okay, you know better. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you very much. I was in Boston College the other day.
Oh, wonderful. Beautiful this time of year.
How about that's it. That's it. Sorry. Thank you very much.
And one more just in case. Someone please. Thank you.
I think we'll do one with each prize winner is better. Yes. Let's do that, yeah. Let's do each prize winner better, I think, yeah.
Right.
تعال بساعد سيدي.
The other
نعم زينب.
yes.
Sorry. Oh, yourself.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's a good man. Thank you very much. You're based in Holland? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for coming.
This is the thing about readers, the editors. I mean, they say
Thank you very much.
10 years.
Let's do that.
I lived a couple of streets away from where Mikhail Mashaka's house was, but I'd never heard of him at the time. That's him. Yeah. That's Mikhail Mashaka.
Maybe we can have a group photo somewhere else.
He was an adversary.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he was paralysed partly on one side.
Thank you. If you can just please, thank you very much.
Yeah, they do a nice job. That's the missionaries.
Let's have one.
Sorry.
Of course. Put the brother, please. We are please. Put the brother, please. Put the brother. No, please.
Everybody back in now?
I'll go this side.
No, please, come on, please. It's better like this. We have the.
You have the women and
Talk about yourself.
We have the you.
Well, we saw some pictures. Photographers fall down the stairs.
Is that all right? Congratulations.
Can we have a separate one with the final winner?
Yes, sure. Thank you.
A lot of it.
Okay,
Are we? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Should we do it?
Thank you.